Today's case is to purely inform us on a case that should have brought the whole country together, not divide us. So if you're here to argue politics, you can go ahead and click out now. I'm just going to give my information I have on this case, and that's it. So there's your pre-warned. So any political comments will be deleted from the comments. If you want to start a political argument, please don't watch this episode. Please move on to your next. I kindly ask. Thank you. Hello, welcome back to your True Crime Lounge. My name is Breezy, and today we're going to be talking about the case of Laken Riley. Now, as I said in my forewarning, if you want to get political, exit out now. This case is to purely inform us of a case that should have brought this whole country together, but yet somehow has divided us. Um, this is the case about a young girl who lost her life, who it should not happen to anybody, but yet somebody's going to be out there and try to argue with me on this. But with that being said, if you're new here, hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications. Also, please subscribe, help a girl out. We're trying something new today, trying to block out all the noise, so I'm very excited. This is my little microphone here. I got it because I'm just experimenting with it. My headphones are going out on me, so I haven't been able to use those much. But with that being said, let's try some experimentation here, see if it works well for us. But who is Laken Riley? Why is this case so important? Why has this case divided a whole country? Well, Laken Riley was a nursing student, a cross-country runner, a member of Alpha Chi Omega at Augusta University in Athens, Georgia. She was born January 10, 2002 in Marietta, Georgia, with her whole life ahead of her. She graduated from Ridge High School in 2020, where she was a member of the cross-country team, and she will go on to attend the University of Georgia as an undergrad, and then would go on to become a member um, of Alpha Chi Omega sorority at Augusta University. She was a devout Christian and was considered a caring daughter and good friend, and she was also highly regarded as one of the best in her class. Unfortunately, she was brutally murdered while jogging at the University of Georgia campus on February 24, 2022. February 22nd, 2024. Now, prosecutors said that it was encountered by Jose Antonio Ibarra, who was killed during a struggle, and the Laken Riley Act was named after her after President Trump signed the bill into law. Now, before I dive into this murder, I want to talk about the murder for a minute. I also am going to reiterate that this episode is not a political stance. This episode is the death of a young woman who had her whole life taken from her way too soon and would have changed the world. Now, let's put our beliefs aside for a moment and remember that this young woman, whose life was taken by this man we're about to talk about right now. Now, Ibarra was 26. He was a Venezuelan migrant, and according to ICE, he appears to have entered the U.S. within the past 2 years. On September 8, 2022, Customs would encounter him after crossing the border into crossing the southern border with Mexico near El Paso. He was paroled and released for further processing. Now, the agency said that he was arrested by the New York Police Department September 14, 2023, and he was charged with acting as a member to injure a child less than 17 and motor vehicle license violation. Now, the New York officials didn't release a statement before a detainer could be issued. According to the NYPD, that the department had no record of Ibarra's arrest and could not confirm whether or not this account was correct. Now, there was no connection between Ibarra and Riley, and this was a crime of opportunity where he saw an individual that had bad things happen, and according to the prosecutors, he attacked Riley while she was out on the run, and affidavits accused him of disfiguring her skull. and the support of the aggravated battery assault. The filing would also claim that Ibarra used an object to harm her and drag her in her body to a secluded area. Now, Ibarra was charged with malice murder and felony murder in connection with the death of Laken Riley. Just hours after Riley was killed, Athens homicide police detective pulled out a photo from surveillance cameras for a potential suspect that wore a distinctive Adidas hat, and it eventually led them to an off-campus apartment complex where they were searched and began putting the pieces together and details about him. Now, he was charged with 1 count of malice murder, 3 counts of felony murder, and 1 count of each of kidnapping, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, hindering an emergency telephone line, tampering with evidence, and a peeping Tom. Now, according to the indictment, on the day of Riley's killing, Ibarra also peered into the window of an apartment in the university housing building, which is on the basis of a peeping Tom charge. Now, his bench trial is set on Friday, November 15th. And after he waived his right to a jury trial, prosecutors have chosen to not seek the death penalty, but intend to seek a sentence of life in prison without, I'm going to reiterate, without the possibility of parole. Now, Riley's murder quickly became a rallying cry for prominent Republicans to blame migrants for crime in America and blast the Biden administration for the handling of the situation of the southern border. Now, let's talk about it for a second. Now since we talked about him, now let's move on to Laken Riley. Now, her death. Now, according to Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, her death struck the hearts of Georgians everywhere who has sparked national outrage, and everything. And Joe Biden's failed policies had turned into every state in the border, and he is demanding information so that they can protect her and everything. And the brutal murder who took the life of Laken was one of millions and everything. Like I said, this caused a whole political rift. Like, this case literally should have brought a whole country together of a young girl whose life was taken way too soon and everything. But, yeah. Now, her death made international news, generating extensive media attention, and it sparked a debate over illegal immigration in the U.S. After ICE confirmed that Ibarra was not a U.S. citizen and was called crossing the border and was released to the United States. On March 7, 2024, the House of Reps passed the Laken Riley Act. And what would this bill do? This will require a federal detention of illegal immigrants arrested for burglary and theft, and it will face opposition in the Democrat House controlled Senate and failed to come to a vote. Now, the bill passed the House of Reps with a bipartisan on January 7th. An amended version will be passed January 20th as part of the 119th Congress, and it became the first bill to be signed into law by the President, Donald Trump, for his second item. Now, who was the victim? Um, Our murder victim in this case is Laken Hope Riley. She was born January 10, 2002 in Marietta, Georgia. Her parents are Jason Riley and Allison Phillips, and she had 3 siblings. In 2020, she would graduate from River Ridge High School, where she was a member of a cross-country team. And she was also 22 years old at the time of her death. She was a nursing student in Athens, Georgia, and she previously attended the University of Georgia as an undergrad and was an active member in the Alpha Chi Omega sorority. So let's talk about her murder now. Um, on February 22nd, 2024, she she went for a morning run at the University of Georgia at 8:55, and she texted her mom, "Good morning. About to go for a run if you're free to talk." And at 9:03, Riley called her mom, and during her attack, Riley's phone called 911 at 9:11 a.m. And Riley was attacked and killed between 9 a.m. and 9:32. And Riley's mom tried to contact her multiple times through calls but did not receive and text did not receive any response. At 12:07, Her roommates reported her disappearance to the UGA police and she did not return. And at 12:38 p.m., her body was discovered by UGA police on Akani Forest Park behind Lake Herrick. And her death was caused by blunt force trauma and asphyxiation, according to the Athens Clarke County coroner. Now, Riley's Garmin watch, which she was wearing at all times, showed her heart stopped at 9:28 a.m. And UGA police described Riley's murder as a crime of opportunity and reported that the killer appeared to have acted alone, and there had not been a murder on the university's campus since 1983. So what about the aftermath? Well, her funeral her funeral was held March 1st, 2024 at the Woodstock City Church, where she was buried at in a cemetery in Woodstock, Georgia. A memorial was made for Riley at Lake Herrick, and her family said that they plan to establish a foundation in her honor. Her stepfather will also go on to say that she will be missed every day, but we promise to honor her life in a very big way. Oh my gosh, I'm tearing up. Sorry, I don't know why I'm tearing up. I think it's just because this case, like, she was still a baby. Like, these cases are harder to talk about, too. Like, when children are involved, like, she had her whole life ahead of her. Whole life. And everything. But yeah. Now, her family has started, back to the case. Let's try to get through the case, shall we? Now her family has started an online fund to raise money for the foundation and create the Laken Hope Riley Foundation. Talk about her perpetrator now. Her perp was 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra. I will repeat his name, so we know this for a fact. But he was a Venezuelan man who had entered the U.S. illegally September 2022, crossing the U.S. southern border with Mexico at El Paso. And after the law and after crossing the border, he was apprehended by federal authorities who released him into the country. And he initially stayed at the Roosevelt Hotel migrant shelter in New York before taking a flight to Georgia, where his brother lived. And UGA police stated that he lived in an apartment complex about 1 mile from the wooded area where her body was found. Now, Ibarra um, had been previously arrested by both federal officials state on multiple jurisdictions in September 2023, where he was arrested in New York City and charged with acting in a manner to injure a child who was less than 17 in a motor vehicle license violation for driving a scooter without a license with a child who was not wearing a helmet. In October 2023, Jose and his brother, who was reported by authorities to be a member of the Venezuelan gang Trendy Araga, who temporarily worked at UGA, was arrested by Athens police on theft charges and reportedly possessing stolen merchandise from a local Walmart and later released. Now, Ibarra had a bench warrant out for his arrest in December 2023 after appearing in court for a shoplifting case in Georgia. Now, I say that he had missed an opportunity to detain Ibarra after an arrest in New York because he was released by New York officials before a detainer could be issued. Now, after Riley's death, he was questioned by police after after her hair was found in a dumpster near his house or apartment. Now, Ibarra's roommates identified him as the man throwing away the jacket from the surveillance camera in the dumpster, and police questioned Ibarra and noticed red knuckles and scratches on his arms. Now, Ibarra was subsequently arrested on murder charges. Let's talk about the court proceedings now. On May 8, 2024, a grand jury of Clarke County indicted Ibarra with 10 charges, 3 charges of felony murder, malice murder, false imprisonment, kidnapping, aggravated assault with intent to rape, hindering a 911 call, concealing the death of another, and peeping Tom. Now, he pled guilty to all charges, and bail was denied. And the DA was seeking to sentence life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. In a court filing, his defense attorney submitted a motion to move the trial to another county due to the media attention surrounding the case, but the judge denied it. Good. The judge should have denied it. Um, Ibarra waived his right to a jury trial, opted for a bench trial, which began November 15, 2024, and prosecutors presented evidence including his DNA under Riley's fingernails, and fingerprints on Riley's phone screen. Now, Ibarra's defense said that evidence against him was circumstantial, and on November 30th, the judge found him guilty of all charges and sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, what about the reactions to this case? Because like I said, there were some reactions to this case. Her murder drew a widespread public interest and international media attention, especially in the U.S. Her parents, J.C. and Allison, were invited to the State of the Union by Georgia Congressman Mike Collins, but they turned his invitation down. And Biden mentioned that the murder of Riley during his 2024 State of the Address Union after Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene shouted Riley's name. Now, Sarah Durham, writing for Forbes, said that Riley's murder became a national political case during a historic surge of border crossing. Trump mentioned Riley during his speech in the Republican Party nomination, along with women and girls reportedly being killed by illegal immigrants, including Jocelyn Norgany, who was a 12-year-old Houston girl, who was killed in June 2024 and was heavily featured in Trump's 2024 presidential campaign for his political advertisement on illegal immigration and border security. Andrew Cavalier from The Independent discussed the dangers of and threats that women face when they run solo, using the murders of Riley Molly Tibbetts and the 20-year-old Iowa University student who was murdered by an illegal immigrant while jogging in 2018, and Karina Patrono, who was a 30-year-old American who was murdered while running in a neighborhood in Queens, New York City, as examples. Now we talked about her case. Let's talk about something that would impact her legacy would leave. And that would be the Laken Riley Act. And on March 17, 2024, the House of Reps passed the Laken Riley Act. And a 251 to 170 vote with 37 Democratic members all joining the Republican members in a voting for the bill. If enacted, the Laken Riley Act would mandate federal detention centers hold illegal immigrants who are arrested for burglary or theft, and would allow states to file suit against them in the federal government for failing to enforce law enforcement. Now, the bill stalled amid opposition and Democratic control, and on January 7, 2025, the Laken Riley Act passed the House of Reps, who voted 264 to 159. All Republican members voted for the bill, while 48 members of the Democrat Party joined the support of it. Now, this also marked the first piece of legislation passed in the House of Reps since the newly elected 119th Congress, which began January 3, 2025. And the Senate would pass the amended version of the bill on January 20th, 2025, with all Republicans and 12 Democrats favoring, which was passed. Now, Trump would sign the bill into law January 29th, 2025. And what would this do? Well, this would allow the homeland to detain immigrants admitting to, charged with, or convicted of death-related crimes assaulting a police officer or a crime in the result of a death or seriously bodily injury. And the act would allow the Department of Homeland Security and alleged immigrants. Now, the bill was introduced for the murder of Laken Riley, who had previously been cited for shoplifting, who was the murder of Laken Riley by an illegal immigrant who had previously been cited by shoplifting in the UGA campus and everything. Now, what are some provisions? Well, the bill first required that the DHS through ICE detain undocumented immigrants who are charged with, arrested for, and convicted of, and having committing illegal crimes and everything. Now, that is it for this episode. Join me next time after we talk about who knows what. Y'all have a great day.